Hello everybody, we have a game with the black pieces against Guild Chess, rated 1520. He goes into some type of knights out first system. We're going to just put two pawns in the center and attack his D pawn. He defends it with a pawn, which is fine. We're going to bring our second knight out behind the C pawn instead of in front like him. He develops a piece and pressures our knight. That makes sense. I'm going to attack his bishop and see if he wants to trade. Maybe he'll jump his knight in after, pressuring the pawn. A lot of times they like to do that. So he takes there first. We would love to play e5, but it's not supported. So I'm going to pin the knight, therefore it becomes supported indirectly because the knight is pinned. It also gets it out of our light squared pawn chain. Okay, so he castles. And now we do have the option of playing e5, which threatens this type of thing as well as getting our pawn back, because we are down a pawn. Remember the c pawn we gave up in the beginning? But we like our position better nonetheless. So he moves his queen, but the pin is still there. So if we do attack his knight, he has to respond with the counter attack. The only thing is he moved his queen. So normally the queen is at home. So when I attack the pin knight, I'm trying to win a piece. And the only way to avoid losing the piece is for him to counterattack the bishop. That way if I take the knight, he takes the bishop. But in this case, if I attack the knight and he attacks the bishop and I take the knight, it comes with a tempo on the queen because he happened to move it here, which was a blunder. So he doesn't have time to take the bishop. Normally it wouldn't be hitting the queen, which would be at home. So we're going to forget about taking our pawn back and developing, and we're going to try to win a piece immediately on move 9. Okay, so he just gives it up without a fight, and the game is just over, so that was easy. Now a lot of you might have automatically taken the pawn, going development, center, free stuff, and that's fine, but forcing moves always come first. Because if forcing moves win you the game, then you win the game. So he moves his queen, defending the pawn and trying to stay active. The only problem with that is now I get to take this, and you can't ignore this threat because the rook is hanging. He moves the rook trying to use my pawn as a shield. That's fine. Okay, so we have lots of options. We're up a piece. I say we just put our bishop here and castle. Most simple thing, let's consolidate, get a super solid position. He's super passive. Bad pieces. Okay, so he jumps his knight out, defending the pawn and looking at this square. We don't care. We're gonna castle. If he wants to go on nice excursions and journeys, that's okay. Because what do we want to do with this rook anyway? Well, at some point in the game, we probably want to double down a semi-open file. So let's lift our rook for free now that he's making us. And this knight actually not doing anything. So he goes b4. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously supporting the pawn, but I'm not going to take this pawn. I'm up a piece. I don't need to take that pawn. So either way though. Okay, so what do I want to do? Well, he did move his knight away from here, which was defending the center. So we could start jumping things in. That's something. Let's see. I guess we can start with... How do we get our queen in? Well, let's put the rook here, just to be on an open file. He does this, which threatens a checkmate possibility on our king. Okay. So he's threatening this square. So one thing we're going to do is just drop this back. We're up a piece. His only two pieces are the dark squares, like the queen and the dark square bishop. So his only ever threat is this. But now with our bishop here, that doesn't exist. So he literally has nothing to do in this game. He might as well just go eat dinner. And now we can, all of our pieces are kind of really good. So we just can, I don't know, throw a knight in here and bring our queen in. So let's try that. Throw our knight in here. He can't play this. The bishop is loose because the knight was defending it, but now we're blocking this line of sight. And we're going to play queen here anyway. Oops. So, yeah, we're up a piece, and now this knight can actually never go backwards because of this. I mean, it can go this way, but that's will take forever. So what I'm saying is this knight will never be able to help his king. So it's like I'm up a second piece with that knight there. But in his mind, the mind of a 1520, he probably thinks this is a really good knight because it's deep in the enemy position, and generally that's correct, but in this position, it's a little optimistic. And people always talk about pieces and bad pieces, passive. I don't mind having one of my minor pieces on like defensive duty if it stops all counterplay. I think that's more than worth it. So he does try to reroute backwards. Oh my god, he came to the conclusion it was bad, which is kind of, you know, really impressive. But what was I doing? I lost my train of thought. What was my last move? Oh yeah, I jumped my knight into the center because I wanted to move my queen. This comes with a strong threat, so let's put it here. And like I showed you before, this rook lift gives us easy access for doubling. I mean, we don't need it just yet because we're not going to be using it, so right now it also provides very nice defensive duties. If you ever move the f-pawn, the rook has line of sight, so it's a good move. Right now I'm threatening to take this pawn, check, and that would be checkmate because the pawn covers this. So I'm threatening mate in 1. He can't stop it with the rook. So he also can't stop it with the queen. He can't push the pawn. So he takes the king, the only way to avoid the mate. Okay, so I have different mates. This has to be like a mate in 2 or something. And just like that, in 20 moves, Gil chess goes down. How did we do it? Let's see. We develop a piece on move 1. Put a pawn in the center on move 2. We put another pawn in the center, attacking his center on move 3. Put a piece attacking the center on move 4. And then boom. We always like to kick their pieces off of our side of the board. This is our space. He trades a bishop for a knight. Bishops are stronger than knights, unless you have a good reason. Here he does not have a good reason. Then he takes here, so we prepare e5 with a developing move on the knight, so that we can play e5. If he kicks us, we're not going to let him break the pin, because then we can't play e5. If he kicks us, we'll take it, and whatever he takes back with, we'll play e5. So we play e5, and now he blunders immediately. Tactics right away. We take it, and then we take more free stuff, and then we develop, and then we king safety, consolidate. Forced move that improves our position. A developing move that improves our position. A retreating bishop move that improves our position. This bishop can't go forward, right? Unless you try to break down this pawn structure, which is a waste of our time since we're up a piece. So we just put this right here next to the king. He never has any threats for the rest of the game, and we can use everything else to checkmate him. So boom, we start improving our pieces, not only to improve the knight, but to open an avenue for our queen in one move. And then boom, unstoppable threats. Normally you would put something on this rank to cover the pawn, but those squares happen to be covered. His pieces are having a picnic on the queen side, and therefore he cannot stop this mate in 1. Um, I suppose he could have gone here and delayed it as well. But he chose this way, which is mate in 2. And that's the end of the game. So it's a short one against a 15-20. A lot of times you'll be able to attack these players, their king. Something else to know is you never have to worry about this. Like, it may look funny to you, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And a lot of times players, instead of developing, they'll try to attack this pawn, and players from the black side will get nervous. But this pawn doesn't matter. What matters is development and activity. So, I mean, you could definitely develop. You can definitely go something like queen c7 and defend the pawn, and you don't have to worry about bishop f4 because he played e3 and blocked in his bishop, right? So you could do something like that. You can counterattack him. You can even give up the pawn, probably. Like, so if he takes and then you develop your queen somewhere, you're attacking the knight. Further development. You're threatening to win back your pawn. So if he tries to just say solidify and you castle, okay, so in a position like this, you're down a pawn, but black is perfectly fine. Engine says it's slight advantage black, but let's just say it's an even position, and you're down a b pawn, but you're going to use that for activity with moves like queen a5 and rook b8s and a5s, a4s. I mean, you don't have to give up the pawn, so like, just don't if you're uncomfortable with that. So if he jumps it in here, let's look at queen c7. I'm curious why it says this is the best move. If you go here, no, I'm not going to understand that. So anyway, if you just block with the queen, I mean, that's really the end of it. He's no longer attacking this pawn, and you can develop normally. So that's not a thing to worry about. I put on the analysis board, make sure I didn't blunder anything. Nope, perfect game. Very, very, very straightforward, so nothing too crazy. Don't put your knight in front of your c-pawn. Do what I did and put it behind your c-pawn. You see the difference? It gives you a stronger center. So that's the lesson of the day. Good luck in your games. Submit your rapid games in my Discord. Subscribe. Goodbye.